involvement here at Lake Link. She's even held this role as MC a few years. Her name is Holly Evans. She's my counterpart at Cataraqui Conservation. She works on even more of a shoestring than I do. She's very tied with her volunteers to try and get anything done on her lake sampling or engaging her lakes, but despite that, she just is a power horse and keeps trying to truck along, coming up with innovative projects and ways to interact with you guys and get, the community working together for a common goal and moving forward. And she's going to talk to us about one of those projects that she's got ticking away in the back of her brain. So hopefully she's inspiring you guys as well as others in her watershed. Here's Holly Evans.
In a sec, I just need to pull up.
She just needs a second.
She's also tech support.
She's been very busy being our tech support all day, and now she needs to focus on doing her own slides.
All right, there we go. Yeah. I got you.
Okay, thanks everyone for your attention. I'm really short, so this is really tall. There we go. So I'm here today just to talk about an idea, like Kelly mentioned. You can go to the next slide there, Melissa. We've learned a lot about lake plans today. A lot of people in attendance already knew a lot about lake plans, but just sort of to summarize, it's a way to identify community-supported lake-specific goals, objectives, actions to protect, enhance, and sustainably enjoy the lake. So we all have values, we all have attributes on the lakes that we care about, that we want to preserve, and then there's some other stuff that we'd like to see maybe get better. So it's a way to kind of bring that all together, and through the process, if it's done in a way that involves the community, which it needs to be, otherwise it's a top-down approach, and we've learned that doesn't work. That you're reflecting the community's interests, and it's usually supported by a background document, so some scientific information, whether it be from the Lake Partner Program, Citizen Science Apps, possibly some stuff from the Ministry of Natural Resources or Environment. Could come from a variety of sources, but taking some of that information on measurements on the lake and helping to have that science informed through a state of the lake report or some other kind of report. It could be called something different, but just having that information in the background. And then it includes implementation recommendations for the main organizations, so for the Lake Association and for other organizations that have some of the maybe enforcement responsibility, or they've got some resources to do some more of the scientific investigations, but those partnerships are often recognized as a key aspect of the lake plans for implementation. In working for 20 plus years in the conservation industry, and in particular for Cataraqui Conservation, notice a few things about lake associations, lake plans, lake communities, and how they work and what they might have in common. There are a lot of common topics of interest and concerns. Water quality is always a really big one. Natural heritage, making sure that the loons are protected. Building community is a big one. A lot of people retire to the lake and they're used to having, a friend group back in the city that they lived and worked in, and it's really important to kind of build that up. And if you can build that up while actually contributing to conservation and helping to meet some of those goals that you're interested in for protecting the things that you value in the lake, all the better. There's a similar capacity in extended lake community for our lakes. So there was a mention that the people that are often on the boards of directors have these skill sets that are not necessarily in conservation, but some really good skills for organization, budgeting, could be community outreach, database management, all sorts of stuff. So really highly skilled people invested in an idea of a sustainable lake and an enjoyable future for generations to come. So that is similar from lake associations as well, and the same sort of extended lake community. We have a structure in Eastern Ontario of the upper tier counties, the municipality, and then the lower tier municipalities under that. And then we all have the M&R district offices, the different zones, and a lot, not everybody, has a conservation authority as well. So those are all the same kinds of players. And if there's a baseline of information, a unified approach to lake plans, it would be helpful for the implementation partners like municipalities, conservation authorities, and also to make grant applications. So imagine that 5 lakes in a watershed that just happen to be adjacent to each other, one flowing into another, are all really concerned about a water quality issue. And they all have a lake plan that identifies that as one of their top priorities. And they can then go to a potential funder and say, we've got X amount of people, we all have this concern, this is the information that we've got in our State of the Lake report, we want funds to implement these priority actions. That's going to have more weight with that funder. That's going to be something that is more likely to get the money to be able to make the difference. And finally, watershed planning as part of the provincial planning statement could draw from the lake plans as well. So watershed planning is included, in particular for municipalities that are identified as high growth areas. You have to do watershed plans now. So that's something of interest as well. Next slide. The idea that I have, which I'm sure it's not really a new idea, it's just maybe a different way of thinking about it, is that because of all those similarities and because of the benefit to potentially a unified approach for implementation, could there possibly be a way to help facilitate people get over the hump of putting a lake plan together so that, well, geez, we don't have $100,000 or $50,000 to hire a consultant to do this. We really aren't quite sure how to go about it. Could there be a tool that could help guide people through the different steps, providing some guidance along the way and some decisions that help to kind of go from the very broad choosing of topics of interest to goals, objectives, and then actions, and then flagging along the way the different sorts of considerations that should be made, when consultation is recommended, and the different groups that could be involved. So that's the general idea. Next slide. And it would be a publicly available website. In exploring the idea, I've talked with somebody about an app, because who doesn't want to develop an app at one point in their career? That'd be cool, right? It's like, this sounds like it'd be a cool app. I think I would do that. No, apps need to be really simple, targeted, like for one thing, like you want to park in a parking lot and use the honk app? Great. You want to build a lake plan? No, that's a website.
Yeah.
So I did learn that. So today, this concept, this idea, is something that I would be willing to try and seek out partners, establish a working group. This isn't going to be something from Cataraqui Conservation specifically, or me specifically, but I think it would need to be a group effort. So the steps, I'm going to skip down to the bottom of the slide first. It would be to establish a working group, get together a work plan, and there's a great group at Queen's, it's a School of Urban and Regional Planning, and I think that they could be involved in a way to really help flesh out some of the research aspects, a lot of the content from the different decisions for the different topics, the goals, the objectives, and the actions. Seek funding support, and then create and design and create a web page. That would be how to get it done. Big question is, should it be done? Is this something that the lake community would find useful? We do have, from Gordon Ramsay French Planning Services, that really great booklet. What is the name of that book? The Lake Planning Handbook.
Yeah.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
And it was an excellent resource. And a lot of lake associations have used it to produce lake plans. But I'm wondering if modernizing that sort of a tool, if now is the time. So questions that I have for the group really are, is this a good idea? Would lake associations consider using something like this? And if you do have any comments, please contact me by email. And if this is something that I should try and move ahead, then that'll be part of my work plan for next year to bump that. Yeah, go ahead.
Questions? I have a question.
You can be.
Or comment.
Here, let me get the microphone to you so we can hear.
Great presentation. A lot of the insight that you have, a lot of the insight that you had came to me as well. I was involved as president of Big Clear Lake Association in the early 90s. I'm well aware of the lake plans that Charleston did first and Bob Groves. And with my computer background, I actually did exactly what you said. In 2006, I created a company called Living Lake Plans. And it basically is an online cloud-based system that has different sections of your lake plan. You put in your water quality data, you press a button to look at the latest report. It gets the latest data you just entered yesterday. You know, that was an issue with Bob and Crows. They took quite a few years to develop their final lake plan. And when it was finally published, their water quality data was 2 years old already. So that's the problem with the documents. They're outdated very quickly, hard to get them updated, a lot of effort. You really need a living document, which is not a document, but a website. So it's been done. I approached Lake Links year in, year out to be allowed to present that concept. Never got on the agenda, but yeah, it's there. So, 80% of probably what you're talking about, I absolutely talk.
Good, thanks.
Any other quick questions before we pass on to the next speaker?
Just thinking about the effectiveness of lake plan in helping to deal with an application like the Skycroft campground expansion on Pinnacon Lake. Do you see the new crop of lake plans being effective in trying to properly evaluate something like that and be credible evidence at a tribunal hearing?
I cannot answer that question. That's a really specific thing that I don't have a whole lot of information on. So I think with this concept, there is a risk, I guess, and so maybe I'm answering your question, of it being a collection of lake-specific best management practices, which that's not wrong. You have everybody thinking about nighttime sky-friendly lighting and being able to, focus on some priority monitoring along the shoreline. That's all well and good. What I think you're talking about is more very science-backed, maybe capacities and information that would prevent, development from happening.
Prevent or shape
Or shape.
influence.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's a very specific question. I'm not comfortable answering that, or I can't answer it.
All right, we've got time for one quick one.
Okay. So,
It's on.
Hello, there we go, okay. No, just one comment about this undertaking, because Holly, I think it's a good idea. The consultation part is probably one of the key pieces that will really give you credibility and also, let's say an top-down approach, so it's like a bottom-up approach. And so building or having templates of questionnaires, so you've got all of the things that you need to know, what people consider important for them on their lake, is a key piece of doing something like that. So that outreach piece and getting your support from the people around the lake is probably the step one.
Yeah, that's very well received, and I think that even before, the slide's not up anymore, but even before the priority topics, right, are picked, then the way that you pick those topics is to go to the community and, survey and find out. Yeah. Okay, thanks everyone.
All right.
My business cards are over by that trifold with the kind of turquoise and the big photo collage, so if you did want to email me, it's over there.
As with any of our other speakers, a big thank you goes to Holly for all she does and for being here today to share her time and knowledge and ideas. And so next, we